Okay, I think we're going to get started now. This is going to be recorded, so for those who haven't joined, they'll get something in their inbox. So, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon for those in different parts of the world. This is our first official webinar as Overe, and it's a really exciting webinar for us. We're also welcoming David to the team this week, and he's already been busy trying to break our product, which is always great. That's kind of what we want. This is going to be a mixture of a threat demo, so showing real world threats and our product as well, because we're about to launch our premium service, and so we thought we'd give you a sneak preview of what's to come. And so we're going to get straight into it. A bit of slideware, but it's all going to be mostly demos and fun stuff to show you. So just to kick things off. So myself, I'm Paul Barnes. I've been in this cybersecurity industry for about 20 years now. Startup called Prevex, an endpoint vendor, and we sold to Webroot. Carried on that journey and learning a lot about MSPs and SMBs along the way. And then my last stint at Blackpoint Cyber, which is an MDR company, that kind of gave me another insight into how to serve MSPs from a cyber perspective. And David?
Hello, hopefully you can all hear me. So my name's David Rushmer. I'm the new head of security research here at Overe. I spent quite a number of years working for BT, doing government contracts, building testing harnesses and a number of other fun things before moving on to Silence, which was then acquired by BlackBerry. Did all sorts there, to be honest, from reverse engineer all the way up to the global director of threat research. And then the last place I was working at, much like Paul, was Blackpoint Cyber as well.
Brilliant. Thanks, David. All right, so we're going to dive into kind of the problems which we're looking to solve. And so we're going to start high level, then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of the product. But really, this is something which kind of stared out at us when we looked at this problem, that the sheer amount of SaaS applications which small businesses are using. So you see there 59 apps on average for small businesses up to 250 employees. It's kind of crazy to think of the problems, the IT admins, and any security team which are there to try and manage and get eyes on this. And then we all kind of know the cost of breach is extremely high and it's only increasing. And most of these breaches are happening in the SME world. And really the focus for cyber criminals is focused away from the endpoint, more onto where the gold is, which is in the cloud, in the SaaS apps. So that's a real problem which we see face our target customers. And then when you look at trying to solve this as a small business or even as a managed service provider, it's very expensive to kind of arm yourself with not only the tools but also the personnel. And so 700K, it actually can go much higher depending on how many users you may be protecting and what tools you're using. So it's an expense which is very hard for small businesses and managed service providers to justify. And so they're looking for solutions to kind of help them with this, and more of a white glove approach to help solve this issue. And so it's not just those risks from the customer standpoint. It's also when you look at the market itself, there's a number of factors in play. And so what we call the hidden security gap. This is really one of what I like to say is that the dirty secret within the security industry, where most of the folks are focused on the endpoint, on the network, but vendors are doing a pretty poor job of looking at what's going on the cloud side, especially for smaller businesses. And so, it's one of the things which you should always be asking your vendors is like, what are you doing for me with my SaaS applications, and seeing if there's adequate protection there. The next item is something which we know a lot of our business customers are faced with, whether it's compliance challenges, cyber insurance is kind of getting more demanding, where they're now looking for more and more controls to be put in place to mitigate those cyber threats. And this is all coming towards either the small business or the MSPs to try and fight this, but also just the variety of threats which we're now seeing from a security standpoint. And so Dave's going to walk us through a really interesting example, and it kind of highlights the problem and the perception of certain controls which may be in place can easily be bypassed with the right types of techniques. And then we look at from a SSPM, so SaaS Security Posture Management. This is kind of the broad term for solutions which look at this area. Most of them are kind of geared towards the mid-market and above, where there are security teams to look at the data which these tools provide. So again, it's coming back to the cost of arming yourself with a security team or the right IT admins is very high. It's something which, if you look at the tools out there, they're very chatty, relies on you as the customer to decide whether you should allow it or not. And so again, it comes that point around resourcing and cost for that. And then MDR as well. So MDR, it's been doing a great job on the endpoint, but like I mentioned with that dirty little secret, it's kind of the focus is now on the cloud. And so, the breadth of the coverage is lacking in most part, and also the cost of MDR as well. So, these can be very expensive services to attain. And so whether it's £5 per user per month, most MSPs and SMBs find that far too expensive. So there's a cost prohibit to there. And then look at the opportunity for managed service providers. I think what we're looking at providing is a great revenue opportunity. And so it's something which we feel can not only minimize the risks of your clients, but be a new revenue stream for you as a managed service provider. And so I'm going to hand over to David to kind of walk us through the current threats and scare us all with a demonstration.
So there are a number of threats. There are always threats out there, but the main ones when it comes to the dirty little secret that Paul was alluding to right now are very much focused around account compromise and misconfiguration. As weird as that seems, data leaks and compliance risk due to misconfigurations in cloud environments is a substantial problem, and it's so easy to do without even realizing it. If we took, for example, 365, in order to do anything in that environment, you need to turn the security defaults off that Microsoft put in place. But in doing so, you can accidentally disable MFA on specific user agents without even realizing it, because as an organization, you may say, well, we only use Windows devices and Linux devices, so we don't need to set anything for iOS devices because no one's ever going to connect with one of those. And so you don't enable MFA, and then all the problems happen. The reason why account compromise is such an issue at this moment in time is because ultimately, as someone said to me the other day, malware's dying. Malware isn't as lucrative as it used to be for threat actors. It's still a problem, don't get me wrong. That's why ransomware is still everywhere, but it's not as big a deal. And actually, the problem these days is protecting your identity. Identity is everything. And when we talk about the cloud specifically, your identity matters, because once your identity has been compromised, it pretty much opens up an organization. And it doesn't have to be at a C level. It can be anyone in that organization. And what I'll show you as we go through this demonstration, you'll notice some pieces that I'll touch on as to why this might not necessarily work in a real environment and what a threat actor would do to do it. And the reason why I haven't done it is because I really am not a fan of enabling people to replicate some of these techniques, but it should be kind of fun. So Paul, am I good to take over the screen? I think you're on mute, so I'll do it anyway. So hopefully you can all see this. Paul, is that nice size on the screen? Excellent.
Yeah, we're good.
Perfect. All right, let's get going then. So what I'm going to show you is a bypass of MFA that can occur inside a 365 environment. Now, what I've got up on screen at this moment in time is a solution called Evilginx. There's a couple of iterations out there, but it's an open source tool that you can easily acquire, easily install. And the whole point of it is effectively to create lures and what's known as fishlets that allow you to send phishing emails, encourage people to click on the link, and by doing so, man in the middle their authentication to a legitimate service. So what that means is I'm going to send a fake phishing email to myself on a test account. It'll look like it's come from the payroll department over at Overe. And when I click it, it will take me to a SharePoint site. The SharePoint will ask me for my username, my password. It'll ask me to authenticate via MFA. What's actually happening is Evilginx is collecting all of that and sending it onto Microsoft. All the responses are coming back and being captured and then sent back to the user as well. So both sides of the conversation all being seen. So I'll click play and we'll carry on. So as you can see, I own the domain office.co.uk with a 1 instead of an I. Now, if you go to office.co.uk, you actually find a shoe website. So we're pretty safe at this moment in time. I don't think anyone's really going to be tricked into going to Microsoft. But as you can see, I'm sending an email over what's known as an SMTP relay. So I'm sending it from this email address using the relay itself, and it's going to look like it's come from the payroll account at Overe. Now, Outlook does a good job of detecting this and telling you normally, hey, this has come from an SMTP relay. What threat actors are doing then to bypass this is actually compromising a single user account. And I'm sorry if that's blurry, but it's compromising a single user account inside an organization and then sending these emails from that user, because there is no control over the actual organization itself. An email can go to anyone internal without any problems. And what you'll see here is exactly the same message we saw up there, including the lure that has been generated from the Evilginx server that I'm running. So when I click here, you'll see that I'm taken to SharePoint. It tries to log in, and you said, nope, you need to enter your username and password. And what you should see on the left-hand side is, as I go to enter the password for this domain, the username, the password for the account will appear, as well as an MFA prompt. So we'll just give myself a second. Now, this is indicative of a real-world attack. As I said, I've done a few things to that, I haven't gone so far down the rabbit hole to completely obfuscate and hide myself, but this is how phishing emails work, especially in these types of environment when you see AWS accounts, Azure, 365, any of those ones, Google as well. So you can see on the left here, I'll just pause for a second, that we've actually collected the username, the password itself, and the authorization URL tokens have been intercepted. It's the tokens that we care about. So if I carry on that. So the user hasn't been able to log in. It's gone a bit funky. And what would probably happen in that situation is they've messaged back the payroll department. Now, if I click sessions, session 72 was the one that we captured. We can see the IP address that's come from, the remote one is legitimate, and all those session tokens are important. Now, I am now currently on a completely different attack box. I'm just going to pause this for a second. So this attack box itself is running over an ExpressVPN VPN service. So, you could use anyone, PIA, ExpressVPN, NordVPN, it doesn't really matter. Threat actors will use anything. I've captured the session tokens. And what that means, once I have your session tokens, I don't really need your password. It's great that I've got it just in case you make an MFA mishap and you don't have it enabled, but I don't need MFA in order to log in. I can log in with just your tokens. So what will happen now is I'm going to replace the browser cookie with, I'll delete the tokens that I've got, and I will replace them with the tokens that I've just stolen from our victim, the sign and state cookie. And all I then need to do is refresh the browser. I don't have to do anything else. Once I refresh, I'm logged in as that user. Now from here, what I can do is access any of the documents that are stored on the server itself. So inside 365, I can go to your Outlook domain, and we can see here, look, I'm logged in as a user, and there's my phishing email from before. What we'll do instead, and this is very common, is we'll create a malicious email forwarding rule that will take every single email that you have coming into your organization and send them on to our other location. This is a really common technique for exfiltrating data from an org, because no one ever thinks about email internal to internal. So let's send it to bad guys at, what do I call it? Bad guys at threat.xyz. That doesn't exist, luckily, so nothing will be going anywhere. And even if it did, there wouldn't be anything interesting for them. Some of the other things I could do before we take a look here, some of the other things I could do would be creating new MFA credentials. So creating a new user and assigning them a business license can all be done through 365 if you have the correct permissions. So it might be that I've only compromised a normal everyday user, but long term, what I'm after is the global admin. From there, I can create my own persistence mechanisms. I won't need to worry about session cookies because I'll have my own user that can log in whenever they want to, meaning that I could upload malicious applications to your 365 instance. I could continually take your emails. I could join your Teams calls when you're announcing, internal pieces to your organization. But what you can see here is the Overe Alerts console. And what we've had come in is anomalous user activity. Now, I'm based in Gloucester. as you can see, the little pin right there is me. What we actually captured was the man in the middle credentials being forwarded onto Microsoft. And that's what's happening there at that 68.183.42.79 address. That's actually a DigitalOcean server that's running Evilginx, based down in London. We didn't need to capture someone using the credentials. We have the data, but what we've actually got here is someone doing the attack. And that's that's the differentiator. That's important. And here we have the Netherlands user going in and creating that malicious email forwarding rule. Again, that's happening over a VPN service. And that's it in a nutshell. The video is only 3 minutes and 46 seconds long. It's taking a little longer with me explaining it. I apologize. But these types of attacks are really simple, real easy to do, and they're so common. It's surprising how common they are.
That's brilliant, David. Yeah, so I think that's a great example, David, and it's exactly how we're looking at kind of helping solve this issue through the lens of the attacker. And having David in the team's super important for us. So thank you very much for that. Any questions which you do have, there is a Q&A panel. Just fire them in there, or you can contact us directly. Dave went through a lot of technical stuff there, and we're happy to kind of spend time on a call. And if you're using the product, we'll be able to kind of show you around what policies to harden as well to kind of mitigate this as well. So brilliant. So with all that, so we kind of walked through the problem. This is kind of where we're at with Overe, and this is the solution which we're building, and we're kind of well into our development here, about to launch the premium service. But our goal is to build the world's most accurate and easy to use AI-based automated security platform. When we say accurate, we don't want to be bothering you guys or the customers with high false positives, lots of decisions to make, and the automation is critical for us. So we know, especially with managed service providers and small IT teams, you guys are extremely busy, and you need eyes on this 24/7. You don't want alerts being fired over to you to then make a decision. So the response element to this is something which is super important for us. And so this is kind of our key vision. And then looking a bit deeper into our strategy, and this is very important for us, how we've kind of built our product. So for those who have know us already, you probably tried the free tool. And so this is kind of what this is our strategy built on these 4 pillars around assess, harden, monitor, and respond. And so with the free tool, it's really in that assess bucket, because we really want to arm you guys with the right information about where the problem is, whether in your own infrastructure or in your client's infrastructure. So the idea with the free tool, we give you this holistic view of, first of all, it's Microsoft 365 to begin with. It's an overview of your security posture and your client security posture, and also guiding you whether you've got the right licensing controls in. So anyone who knows Microsoft licenses, and the variety there, it's really difficult to understand if you're on the right SKUs. And so we have a guide for you, which I'm going to show you very quickly on that. And then the next pillar, so once we've shown you the problems you may have, then it's really about hardening. So this is really critical. So once we know there's potential issues there, hardening comes with us enforcing best practice policies. And so this is within our premium service. We have several policies which we're coming out with, which will strengthen against those types of attacks, which David walked through, and other things which we see. And then, say for example, those hardening measures don't catch everything. This is onto the monitoring. So this is kind of the 24/7 monitoring which we have. So as David highlighted, in those attacks, we are monitoring any events which might look adversarial. We're using a lot of machine learning and baselining off your environment to understand what's an anomaly and what's not. And this is something which is in the product today, and it's we have several alerts which kind of stem from whether it's the email side of things, MFA, login, and a whole raft of other kind of things which we're looking into. And then the final element is on respond. So for example, there's 2 types of response we have. The first one's in the product today, and this is around, say, for example, one of your administrators were to change a setting within your Microsoft 365, within Entra, we will automatically revert that back to the best practices. So that's one element of response. And what's coming soon is the whole thing, as David walked us through, hey, there's these attacks in your network, then we're able to auto respond with killing that session or disabling that user to help isolate that threat. So I just wanted to highlight that strategy just before we dive into the actual product, because it's very important as we kind of look at the product portfolio and where we're heading as Overe. And so, okay, oops, sorry, just onto the free tool. So most of you have probably signed up for the free tool, so it's super easy to do. So just choose your instance, create your account, and it'll bind to your tenant, Microsoft 365 tenant, and you'll come out with a screen like this. And so this is really the assess side of our product. So this is all part of our free service. And so in this case, we've got an E5 license on this dev account, but we haven't put in all the controls possible. So this guides you as a SMB or an MSP through what controls you need to add it. So we walk you through the top tasks there and kind of show you, based on CIS and other factors, which controls are prioritized. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this, but there's just one other feature which I wanted to show you on the free tool is around if there are posture changes in your tenants, in any of your customers, we will alert you to it. So you can set this up, enable as many clients as you wish, and if there are any settings changes, we'll alert you to that, so you can come back into here and see what those changes are. And then the final feature is really around dark web searching. So we do breach monitoring on all your identities in Active Directory, and then we do a check on the dark web to see if we've seen any of those credentials previously. So that's the kind of all in that free tool. Add as many clients as you wish, and when you're ready to move on that kind of journey to that hardening piece with policies, then you can enable Overe Premium. And so actually I'll come on to here. So the policy section. So on the hardening side of things, very easy to enable. So it's just a case of choosing which policies you wish to enable. We'll first monitor whether you have the right licensing in place. So there'll be warning messages on this once you enable it if you don't have the right license. So for example, conditional access policies aren't allowed on if you've got the just Exchange online only license. So we'll advise you to that. But once you kind of get past that, you're able to select which policies you wish to enable, and you can either set them in monitor mode or enforce. So enforcing will do that whole, it's going to put the best practice settings in place and auto overwrite anything you put into Entra if someone were to get in there and change some settings. So this is the policy section, and then I flashed on screen more off the dashboard. So we have a dashboard to show all the activity, and in fact you kind of see that attack which went on in Amsterdam is a successful login to set up the email forwarding. We got information there, and you can knock yourself out with these graphs, and we don't really expect you to spend a lot of time in here, but the real key area for our monitoring piece is within this section. So these are all the key alerts which we'll have for you. And so I think David showed this example of the email forwarding. We give you context around where it's come from, what type of network as well. And if you really want, you can have a look at the raw data. And so it's kind of investigation, but this is something which we'll alert you to and kind of warn you that hey, you need to deal with it. Or when we have the response module for this, these type of user isolation, then we'll auto isolate that user should you wish. And so it's all controllable by yourselves. And so that's really the key elements of the product I want to walk you through. There are some other sections you can dive into. So like I've seen in the users section, which I show, you can see whether they're admin or MFA. You can dive into all the details there if you want to just make sure you're not enabled someone with admin accounts when they haven't. And yeah, there's different reports you can do in the posture side to kind of help with your sales process. So we see a lot of MSPs use a free tool to help with highlighting the issue to their clients and also adding an extra revenue stream and as part of a retention strategy to show them, hey, look, here's the kind of roadmap for all the changes we're going to make in your environment, using us as that free tool, getting them comfortable with the changes and walking them through that. So that's a great strategy we've seen out there. And then from a general management perspective, the product is very easy to set up. You can create as many sites as you wish. We also have a great new feature available for any Webroot customers, so they can easily import their sites from Webroot, because one of the parts of our journey is, yes, the cloud. Looking at the cloud is super important, and we're doing a good job of identifying threats there. But there are some clues around, and there might be clues with other endpoint vendors. Like, hey, there might be a piece of malware which is a start of an attack. And so, as David said, malware's starting to kind of, the focus shift is away, but it's not eliminated the issue these days. So working with Webroot and other vendors, will integrate Defender and several other vendors in there. So we start to pull in all this information and ultimately provide a better security service for the customer. So great, that is the demo, and we're more than happy to kind of go one-on-one with any you guys who want to try out the premium service. But I wanted to just highlight the early adopter program. So as you're probably aware, we're a startup and we've got a product in market, but we're still adding a lot more features. We've got a very healthy roadmap. And one of the things which we're keen to do is get the product into our customers' hands as soon as possible. So we've already got several beta partners, we've got paying customers already. And what we're doing at this moment is introducing an early adopter program. So we'll have give you exclusive access to all the new features. We'll kind of walk you through the roadmap and to get your feedback on that, because it's super critical for us as we kind of navigate our roadmap and our execution plans, that we get your feedback. We'll of course offer special pricing. So as we come to market with more of a fully fledged product, we'll have a one price point, but we're offering it at near enough half price at the moment. And so we can walk you through specific pricing if you want more information there. Enhanced support. One of the things which we're keen to do is just have that communication flowing with you guys to get that feedback. If there are any alerts which we see, because one of the things which we're doing is not just handing you the product and then letting you manage it. We're also combing through all the anomalies and alerts and seeing if there are any issues. And so one of the things which we would like to do is alert you to this in a more of a SOC-based manner, something which we're happy to do for our early adopters. And then again, like back to the roadmap. So your influence early on is going to help shape our roadmap and make this product ultimately a successful one. And so I can see the Q&A starting to light up. So if you do have any questions, feel free to shoot them into the chat, and I'm going to have a quick look. So I'm going to start with Clive. Thanks for your question. So do we need a Microsoft partner account, or can it be set with tenant level GA accounts for each customer? So you don't need a partner account. So all you need to do is have admin creds for your tenant. So one of the things which you are doing is in future is a CSP login. So it's going to make it super easy for you to kind of connect once and add all your tenants. But for now, all you need to do is create a site within Overe. And then as you go through the site creation process, it's as simple as, let me just quickly show you, where's sites? You can just create a site. And once you've created this, you just kind of go in, you go in and just add the service and connect. And that's, you get two options, free or premium, and that's how you do that. Presume Azure P1 is required for most of the good stuff. Yeah, there's some security controls which you will need P1 for. I'm struggling to think exactly what they are, but I'll give you an example of one where we've got a very skinny license. So we've just got Exchange and Defender. So for the free tool, we're able to do quite a lot. We're able to monitor, and the only thing is when it comes to policies, there's certain things you can't do, like the certain policies we can't do without P1. And so we kind of walk you through those license issues which you might not be able to do. So P1 is probably the the bar for most of the policy stuff, but you can actually get it working like I showed you with just Exchange Online, and we will monitor all the things which we can. Brilliant. Any other questions before we wrap up? Well, thank you everyone for joining us. This is our first webinar, lots more to come. And anyone who's interested in trying Premium, just email us at hello@overe.io, and we'll gladly welcome you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much.